Excel 2007 Spreadsheet Formatting. One critical piece to working with Excel is making spreadsheets that are readable. Whether you are emailing your spreadsheet, printing it out, or sharing it on a network drive, you want your people, your audience's eyes to be drawn to the right area. So we are going to talk all about formatting here. First, we'll cover the traditional tools. If you're new to Excel, this will be new to you. If you've been using Excel forever, well, at least now you'll be able to find that tool you're used to using on a daily basis. Then we'll talk about styles. It's a quick, simple, easy way that you can add visual appeal to your tables without really having to do anything at all. Then we'll talk about themes. Themes are new to Office 2007, and the idea is you can have one theme, one certain type of font and color palette really that is tied to all of your Office documents to really make a corporate looking theme that carries across every single one of your Office products. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Excel. I have an expense report created here already. If you glance over this, you can tell it is not ready to be printed, emailed, or stored up there on a server somewhere for other people to access. You simply can't see all the text, and it really doesn't look very visually appealing. So the first thing we'll do is start with the title up here, Expense Report. Now, this expense report, it should stand out a little bit. So we can select this, and we can choose the drop-down menu and select the font that goes with it. Notice, as I roll over the various fonts, you can see how this updates. You know what? I want my spreadsheet to be fluid. So I'm going to select this entire range and start with the same base font for everything. Now here in 2007, this is new, that you can see all this font change all at once, but there are some new fonts that have been added in here. Notice how many new fonts there are. I haven't even scrolled all the way through this font, and we've seen a lot of new and probably a lot of old standbys. I don't think Joker Man would really be a good font to use for our expense spreadsheet. Perhaps maybe something a little bit better like, I just am going to have to commit to something and make up my mind. Ravy maybe? No, I don't think that one either. So I'll just go ahead and find Verdana. I think that's a fine one. I'll select that. Here we go. We have everything Verdana size 11. That's a pretty good start. Now let's work on this title here, Expense Report. I'd like to make that one a little bit larger. Let's see, 14, not bad. 16, that'll be pretty good to get us started on this. I would like to have my labels be bold. So I'm going to select these items here so they'll stand out a little bit. I would also like these items to be bold. I'm going to press Control on my keyboard because that allows me to select some of the other labels here. Notice how I have a number of different items selected and they're not all connected. This gives me a little bit of leeway here. I can choose bold or Control B on my keyboard, and now it saved me just a little bit of time. I think it'd be nice maybe to select these items and indent them a little bit. I don't want to put them way over in another cell. I don't want to resize cell C so it's some extra space. Instead, what I'll do is I'll increase the indent. So within that cell, it's like pressing tab on your keyboard if you're ever in Word. It gives a little bit of extra space between one cell and the next cell. Well, notice my dates now have pound signs. That indicates that this column is too small to really display that date. I could double click here, but when I do that, it auto sizes this cell to accommodate all the text in there. I don't need to do that, so I can just kind of click and drag and resize that column to about, let's see, about there. That looks pretty good. The reason why I don't want to make column A that large is because, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if employee name moves on into cell B because I don't have anything typed in cell B3 or cell B4 or cell B5. Now, if I wanted to be real bold, I could select these two cells. I could merge them together. That makes this whole cell A3. When I do this, it merges and centers my text. I could always send it back to being left aligned. If I wanted to do that, I could continue on with that idea. And you know what would have been even better? I'm going to click the undo button and show you. Once I had this looking nice, I could have used the Format Painter. The Format Painter has been around for years and years, but a lot of people don't use it. It simply copies one format, the entire format of one cell, to another cell. How do you use it? Well, you select the cell whose format you want to copy. It does not copy data. A single click will allow you to copy it once. A double click means you can click and click and click until you are able to put all those fonts together. I don't really want to do that. I was just showing you. And then to deselect, you would deselect it, but because I clicked Control Z to undo that formatting, that's why it became deselected. Now, it still has this dashed line. I could just carry on with my business. The next thing I do will end up taking away that dashed line, or I could press Escape, and that really brings me back to a fresh start. Whenever I make changes, I like to click Save, just to make sure I don't lose anything. Well, so far it's looking a little bit better. It's not fantastic though. Do I like this date format? Well, maybe. I have a couple other choices though. Something that's nice in Excel 2007 is when I select a range of cells or a single cell and then look over in this area, it lets me know this is showing me that I have a date format. If I were to click here, it's telling me that I have an accounting format. Well, what other date choices do I have? If I click on this down arrow, it's showing me some real basics here. I have short date, which is really what I have already. I have long date, or I could go into more number formats. This is the dialog box that's been around for ages, and I could choose that I don't want to see the year, or I could choose that I want to see it in this format. Notice it just says 08 instead of 2008. And here it doesn't show the date at all. So you have a lot of different choices here in your selection. Actually, this is the one that would show 2008. Did you catch the difference up here? That is just a January without the 0 in front of the 1. This would show you as 01, 08. I'll go ahead and go with this date format. Choose OK. We understand when we see 08 that it's 2008. I would like to add a number format to these. They're currency, so I might as well. Notice general is what we have now. I could click the dollar signs, and now I can tell that I'm in currency because I'm not recording cents here. I'm going to decrease my decimal places. That'll save me some real estate. If I wanted to see the original dialog box that's been in existence, I can click on that item and I can see now I have my number formats, I have my alignment, my font, which is the same thing as these items right here, my border, which is the same thing as this right here, my fill, that's what this paint bucket icon does, and protection, which is something pretty cool we'll get into in a later nugget. It allows you to prevent data entry in certain cells. All right, I'm going to click Cancel here and carry on with what we're doing. If I'd like, I can call these items out by giving them a little bit of a different angle, the orientation. I could angle them counterclockwise. I could angle them, that toggles it back. I could make them vertical, which is really a bad use of my real estate space. Just wanted to show you. Maybe I want them rotated up and down in the other direction. Or maybe I want to angle it like that. It is up to you, however you'd like to do that. And of course, you could decrease the size of the text as you're working with that as well. One thing that's bothering me is that I can't actually see the text of the description. In this situation, I could put my cursor up in between the column headers to the right of the column that I'd like to auto size and either click and drag or double click, like I showed you before. When I double click, it makes this column the right size to display the text. It would also make a column skinnier than it was originally to accommodate the text. See how I don't need that much space when I double click? It'll shrink it. It's always going to make it the right size for that text. Well, I still don't want to use up this much space, so I'm going to wrap my text. This little icon up here allows me to wrap my text. You don't see it change, but now I can resize this column, and then I can double click here to resize. Actually, if I do this and double click, it will auto size the height of the various rows. So I'm still conserving my real estate left to right a little bit. I can tell here that if I were to print this, I would cut off that size of the page, that side of the page. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Oh, whoops, I shouldn't have capitalized that. I double clicked to get into edit mode. I'll press delete on my keyboard and I'll type a lowercase t and hit enter. All right, so I have now changed my description. I can't see everything at once, so I can change the zoom. By doing that, I'm not affecting what it would look like to print out. I'm just allowing to have more data visible inside my window. Let's go ahead and work a little bit with color now. I would like to have this row stand out from the next row. So I'll press Control on my keyboard, which allows me to select non-contiguous cells like we talked about earlier. And now I can change the background color. Maybe I want this to be gray. If I have a black and white printer, it doesn't make sense to have the background colors be blue because they'll just print out in shades of gray. But I think that I'll have this be online generally. So by doing this, now I have some nice visual appeal. I could also select this range of cells. I clicked and dragged to select a range of cells, and I can have borders around this. Now this information is standing out a little bit. If I changed my mind on that, I could just choose undo, but if I'd already saved my document, I can't undo it. I would like to show you another way you can select a range of cells. I want to select from A7 right here down to I14 to here. I'm going to use the Shift button on my keyboard. When I press A7, I single clicked. Now I press Shift on my keyboard and I can click the very far end of my range of cells, and now they're all selected. From here, I could go back and choose that I want no border at all. I could also go back and choose that I want no fill at all. But I like that fill. I kind of liked the borders as well. I'm making these changes, so I'm going to press Control S on my keyboard just to make sure that I don't lose anything. This is looking a little bit better, but I don't want to see all these grid lines. So I'll go to my Page Layout tab, and I'll find grid lines and remove the check mark from View. Well, that looks a little bit more visually appealing, but I still would like to have these grid lines here. This is the body, really, of my spreadsheet. So I'll go back to the Home tab, and I'll again select that I want all the borders. And right here, I would really like to have underlines underneath these items here. Now I could choose to have them be double border underlines. Oops, the reason why I did that was because I selected this range of cells. I'm going to click Undo, and I'm going to select Andrew West, and I'm going to choose bottom border. Then I'll select these, bottom border, and then I could choose to autofill this and choose to fill formatting only. What does it do? It brings back that department code that I had before, but it does just fill the formatting. That's a pretty cool technique. You can use that instead of using this Format Painter tool. What do you think so far? I don't know. It's not the best looking spreadsheet in the world. It'll do, but you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at what these styles can do for us. I'm going to go to Sheet 2 here, where I already have this information waiting. This indicates that these totals, this column needs to be resized, by the way. Excel doesn't, if it can't show you all the data, it doesn't want to show you any data at all, because it doesn't, numbers at least, because it doesn't want you to make a mistake by misinterpreting a value. I'm going to select this range of cells, and I'm going to go to Styles. From Styles, I can click this down arrow, and I can choose a regular style that's shown here. Ooh, that doesn't make sense for the whole table though, does it? That orange is fantastic. So I'll choose Format as Table. And from here, I could choose any one of these items. Look at that. That doesn't look too bad. I'm going to click Undo. I'm going to go back to Styles, Format as Table, and I could choose this one now, Medium. Or there's a scroll bar that you can't see, but there are a number of different styles that I could choose from. This is asking me, where's the data for my table? So I could change, and I could choose that the data for my table is just right here if I wanted to. My table has headers? Okay. Now it's just updating this table, and it's showing me how I can do some sorting and filtering. We'll get into this when we talk about using your spreadsheet as a database. I'm going to click Undo here, and I'm going to go back to Styles one more time, Format as Table, and I'm going to select this item right here. I'll just go with this basic item, and here we go. So this is something that is not bad, not exactly what I want, but it's not a bad item to use if you have a large spreadsheet that doesn't really need the separation of the top area from where the data is held. Now that we're using this style though, we have a new tab. We're in the Table Tools area. We have a new Design tab, which gives us some more tools that we did not have before. Notice if I go back to Expense Report here, I don't have that at my disposal. Back to Sheet 2, here we have it. And if I remove check marks, it removes items. Header row, I don't need that. Banded rows, ooh, I did like the banded rows. Maybe my first column needs to look different than the rest of my spreadsheet. Notice how it bolded just the first column. Maybe I want to just jump in and grab some quick styles. Now when I roll over it, it shows me the differences here. Some of these make a lot of sense for some types of spreadsheets. Ooh, that would look, it's like the opposite, the negative effect there. All right, let's go ahead and work with another spreadsheet. This is that same expense report. I'm just going tab to tab to tab. We'll work with themes now. Themes are found on the Page Layout tab, and these are the items that allow you to have consistency across either all of your Office products or, hey, at least in Excel, and it allows you to keep that business look. Some corporations have certain color themes, and they always want a certain font and a certain color. Maybe navy blue and black is something that is appropriate for your business because it matches your company's letterhead. Well, we can either go with a theme that's already built in here. For example, if I choose opulent, it updates my font, but if I look here, I see it's used the color palette from opulent. If I go back to home, my colors have all updated, and so is my font. So if I wanted to go with my corporate theme, I bet we sell flowers or something like that in our corporate theme, I certainly can. Notice how my color palette has definitely updated to be a little bit less banker type of corporate color palette and more fancy. I can go back to Page Layout here, and I can choose a different theme. I could, of course, go out to Microsoft Office Online. I'd like to revisit the Office theme. From here, maybe I want to create my own theme, so I can select this spreadsheet, and I can choose this blue for my background. I can select this text, and I can make it white. And maybe I also like to use a lot of this Arial black. Well, from here I can select these items, whatever range. I don't believe you have to select the entire range. And I can choose to save this as a current theme. And I'll call this my corporate standard theme. Notice it's a .thmx. When I save this, now I'll be able to use this theme whenever I open up Excel. And because this theme was stored as a THMX file, I can cite that theme from Word, from PowerPoint, from any other Office product that I'd like to take advantage of this theme for. Let's go back to the Home tab and make sure that you feel comfortable with all of the tools that we have available. Cut, copy, and paste has been around for ages. When I click this item, it will show you actually what exists on your clipboard. So if I were to copy this item, it shows me that that's been copied. If I were to copy this item, it shows me that that's been copied too. You can copy a number of different items onto your clipboard, which can be fantastic because you can then choose what you want to paste back. I just want to paste 150 back, and here I'd like to paste 100 back. Well, you know, these are simple items. I could just type those in, but there are items that you want to keep on your clipboard. You could choose to paste everything. You could choose to clear your clipboard. Notice it holds 24 items. If I go into options, this allows me to show the Office clipboard icon on the taskbar. It also allows me to show the status near the taskbar when I'm copying, or I could choose to show this item automatically or when I press Control-C twice. Control-C is for copy. If I did Control-C, I would copy it, but it would also display the clipboard. I prefer to choose Collect without showing Office Clipboard just because I'm old-fashioned and I don't like this thing popping up all the time. Totally up to you. When I click this down arrow, it allows me to move this if I wanted to put it somewhere else within my window instead of here. When I double click, it docks it back to where it was. Or of course I could close it and that X will close it as well. When I click this, it gives me my old-fashioned font dialog box, Format Cells. Remember we clicked it here? We had Format Cells, we click it here, we get the same old dialog box. Also, when you select a range of cells and right-click, you can choose Format Cells, or look at this. This is the floating toolbar that popped up automatically. It's supposed to pop up automatically when I select a range of cells. It's kind of interesting that it's not, because when you right-click, well, here it is, and it just seems a little bit like a waste of real estate space for that to occur. But from here, this floating toolbar allows me to choose different font types, and there it is. Now it's just floating. Kind of interesting. I'll show you. If it doesn't display on yours, you can go to your Office button, choose Excel options, and it's right here in the popular area, and it says Show Mini Toolbar on Selection. Show the mini toolbar when you select text. It doesn't say when you right-click on the text, so it was interesting that that happened. If I go back to this Format dialog box, notice when you're in the number, we have looked at this already, the alignment, we use this button for that, but you can even select precisely the level of rotation you want your text to have. And that's how much it will be rotated. Something that I've always thought was strange about Excel, and I was always hoping they would update this. When you choose to wrap your text, remember that's right here, wrap text. It's also in your Format Cells dialog box, wrap text, and here's merge cells, by the way. It automatically aligns your text to the bottom of the cell. What does that mean? That means if I were to resize this column a little bit, my text is at the bottom. I always would prefer it to be at the top of the cells. I don't like all this extra space here if I don't need it. Here it shows that it's aligned at the bottom vertically. I could center it or I could align it at the top when I wrap that text. I don't know why it's not a default. Let's go on back to our main expense report. Take a look at that. If we go into page layout view, we can see what it would look like if we were to print it out. This is a new view to the 2007 products. We knew already that this would be printed out on the second page. That's not good for us. We can go back to page layout. We can set our orientation as landscape. Oh, and we still have a problem. I'm going to go back into normal view here, and I think I'm just going to resize these columns a little bit here by double clicking. If I were to select all of these columns at once, I could double click and every single one of my columns that were selected would be auto sized. And I can tell now that this will print out. I can click again my print layout to take a look at how that's going to look on the paper. Oops, I should probably get back in there and fix that up a little bit. You do still have print preview here, but it's not necessary right now to go into that. I'll show you when we get into the printing nugget here. Let's go on back now to home. We'll go on back to our normal view of our spreadsheet. We're going to call this spreadsheet complete. I'll say that it looks good enough for us to print this out pretty soon. What was it that we covered in this nugget? Well, we took a look at the traditional tools. These are really all on the Home tab of the Office 2007 ribbon. The styles allow you with a click of a button to make your spreadsheet look pretty good. It also gives you some built-in filtering functionality. And the themes allow you to have consistency among all of your spreadsheets within Microsoft Excel or throughout the entire Office suite. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.